I'm Melanie Johnson. I'm one of the owners of Elite Online Publishing. So today we're going to talk about, a lot of you have questions about how do I pick a publisher? Should I try and get a traditional publisher, self-publishing, hybrid?
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
What we call ourselves really is an independent concierge service publishing. And everybody always wants the traditional publishing deal, right? That's kind of the thing that people are trying to get. But I want to say, just kind of as a side story, around here in Texas, we've had a lot of destruction lately. We've had storms, we've had a tornado, then we had a hurricane. So in my backyard, I had to get a new roof, a new fence. I had trees that came down. And, I don't know much about a roof, and then trying to find the right contractors for a fence, the roof, and I need new gutters too, because those got damaged. And it can be a little overwhelming. And I can understand it's kind of the same thing with publishing. There's so many options. How do you choose which is the best one? So you have to do your research, and it can be tough. And I'll tell you one thing I know I didn't want to do is I didn't want to do my own roof, and I didn't want to build my own fence or replace my own gutters. I knew that for sure. So I needed to find someone to do that for me. So we're going to talk through the traditional publishing. I'm going to start with that. Then we'll talk about self-publishing and then hybrid publishing. And then what we do, which is independent concierge publishing. And there's other people who also do what we do. So traditional publishing, everyone wants to get that traditional publishing deal. They're thinking, I'm going to get money up front. And I have to tell you, it is a really nice thing to think you get money in your pocket. And I will tell you, it's kind of like winning in Vegas, right? It doesn't happen very often. So the benefits of traditional publishing are you do get that money up front. You feel like you have credibility. Like if you're with Simon and Schuster, you're like, oh, I'm with Simon and Schuster. And you feel good that someone wanted to accept your book. And then they do have established distribution channels. And what I mean by that is it's more brick and mortar. And I'm going to tell you, we work with traditional publishing houses all the time. We've just got done working with 2. We're in the midst of working with 1 right now. And their push really is that brick and mortar still. They have that mindset of being in those stores, and selling the hardback book is really where their mindset is. And I had a conversation with one of them just the other day of saying, what percentage do you think of books sell at brick and mortar? And it's really, she thought it was like 65%. And it really is only 20%, 25% at most. And the sad thing is 64% of bookstores have closed over the last 8 years. That's a lot, 64%. Can you believe that many bookstores? Karen and I, who's here, she's my executive assistant, and she'll be answering things in the chat today. We were saying, can you believe that? We were saying, oh my gosh, I have a corner bookstore over here. There's a Barnes and Noble, 2 Barnes and Nobles around my house recently closed in the last couple of years. So it's kind of sad about that. And then they do give you some book launch support, because I'm walking through, we're having meetings every week with a traditional publishing house right now. But again, their focus is really different. It's not so much on the marketing side. And I would say some of their tactics are more old school. So my background is television, in case you don't know that about me. I used to own and operate 2 TV stations, one in Houston, one in Dallas. So, I know TV really well, was in the business for many, many years, sold advertising time. And, it used to be in the day for just a regular TV show, you would get millions and millions of eyeballs. Not so much anymore. So one author we just worked with, she was with Simon and Schuster. She was going to be on Good Morning America, and she was all excited. And I told her, just remember, you're not going to get a lot of book sales out of this. Don't be disappointed. She's like, you're kidding me. It's Good Morning America. And I said, I know. I said, but not a lot of people are going to watch that live. Their viewing audience has gotten really small. And on top of that, people are multitasking right now. They want to watch on demand when they can watch it. So really the legs you're going to get is maybe if they see a clip of you getting it. So that won't be in real time. So you're asking how many people are actually going to watch you live, be there to see your specific segment at that time, and actually click to buy your book right then. And you'd be surprised how many books she sold. So it's Good Morning America, right? You'd think thousands of books she would have sold. She sold 84 books that day. That's crazy. You would think thousands of books. So this is how publishing has changed. And so I just want you to think about that. So some of the things you have to think about to get even a traditional publishing deal are, you have to have a really big social media following or fan base. So if you don't have at least, I'm going to say minimum 100,000, but it really is a 500,000 people. If you have a 500,000 people within your social media or celebrity and up to 1 million, they're going to look at you to take you because they want to know how many books you're going to sell because they're in business to get their money back. So if they gave you $25,000 advance, they want to know how they're going to get their $25,000 back. But they do stretch it over time. It's not like they're trying to get their money back in 1 month. Of course, they do believe that if your book doesn't sell a lot within 1 month, after that, it kind of dies off. We believe differently. We believe your book is your business for a lifetime. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Meaning you can always promote your book. You can always do promotions with your book. You can always take excerpts from your book. So think of it, once you publish a book, it's a lifelong business for you that you can always use. All right. So the other thing is you do lose creative control and control over distribution. And what I mean about that is the one lady I was telling you about, Shawnee with Simon & Schuster, they did not do a bestseller campaign. So she brought us on to make her a bestseller, and they don't do book awards for you. So we're going to make her an award-winning author. Then we have Laura Langmeyer. She was a New York Times bestseller with McGraw-Hill. She had several books with them in the past. She was doing another book with them. She brought us on to do a bestseller campaign, but I want to tell you, she was so disappointed because her older books were out of print. So what that means when you do a traditional publishing deal, they do a print run for you. And then once that print run is over and the books are out of stock, if they feel like your books aren't selling, they're not going to invest in another print run. You're just going to have resale of books. If you ever see books on Amazon and they're like $100, it's because it's just a reseller. There's like 3 or 4 or maybe 100 or so handful left of books that resellers are just selling. And on top of that, she wanted to have her book as a paperback because her market, she felt, was more of a paperback audience for that price point, and they refused to publish her book as a paperback. So she didn't have control over that. The other thing, Dre Evans, he worked with Scribe Media, which is another publishing company, and he also came to us to do a bestseller campaign because they weren't doing the marketing for him. So you're responsible for 100% of the marketing, so keep that in mind. The other thing is you are limited on what you can use your IP for. So we've seen some of these contracts, and like if you want to make a workbook out of your book, they're not going to let you do that. You're limited to usually 5 to 10% of your content can only be repurposed using it in other things. The other big issue, I think, with traditional publishing is limited royalties. So number one, they got to get their money back. Like I told you, they want their money back first. Then after that, they do a royalty split with you. And usually you're only getting like 10%, which means about under $1.75 per book. Okay. And most of the time, you're not going to hit number one. All right, let's dive into, let's dive into hybrid publishing, okay? So hybrid publishing is kind of a combination of both traditional and self-publishing. First, I want to ask you, you can type in if you have any questions about what I just told you about traditional publishing. Feel free to jump in the comments and Karen can answer your questions or let me know what they are, okay? All right, so hybrid publishing, like I said, is really a combination. So you're going to get professional support and creative control. You can share the royalties and retain your ownership usually. And the one thing I want you to think about when I say retained ownership, this is where it gets a little dicey. You want to make sure that your book is published under your name, your Amazon account and or Ingram account, and make sure that you have access to everything. Because a lot of times these hybrid publishers are kind of sneaky and they publish it under their publishing company. So all their books are published under their publishing company. So you don't see what the royalties are. So you have no idea what the royalty split is or how many books you sold, because only they have access to that. So you want to make sure you have access to that. And that leaves you having control of your book, your content, and your IP. Okay. Usually it's a little faster. The other thing that is a con about traditional publishing is that it takes about 2 years, because you've got to get an agent, and it's about a year and a half, at least a year minimum, to get your book published from start to finish. Okay. And a lot of times they will give you launch support with the hybrid company. Okay. So, but I just want to put a warning out there. Some hybrid companies can be kind of shady. So Brad Schlurf, who worked with us, plus 25 other authors that worked with this publishing company, they paid $5,000 to $10,000 just as a deposit, and they didn't get anything for their book, nothing. And some people saved that money up to be able to get their book published, and the publisher ran off with all the money and they never got their book published. So be really, really careful. Know who you're doing business with. And then we talked about loss control of your book. And sometimes they're hiding fees in there. So make sure you read the contract really, really carefully when you're doing this, and make sure that you have full transparency over the royalties and what you're getting. Because a lot of times they're doing a royalty split, and more often than not, hybrid publishers, you almost never see any royalties. They do limited in distribution. Be careful of that. Make sure you're on Amazon and Ingram. So the difference is Amazon is the big behemoth of book sales, right? But Ingram, make sure, is the distributor that makes sure you're on Walmart and Target, everywhere, Barnes and Noble, everywhere books are sold. A lot of times these hybrid publishers also don't offer a bestseller campaign. We offer a guaranteed bestseller campaign. So you want to make sure that they're offering a guarantee, that they are giving you that. And there's just a little bit more risk. So make sure you're doing your research their testimonials, research the company, look at all their books, make sure they are published by them. There was one company that came out that someone asked me about, and I looked up their books on Amazon, and it didn't have their publisher name on any of them or the author's name on any of them. So I don't know who published their books. So then let's dive into self-publishing. All right. Like I said, I didn't want to build my fence myself. So self-publishing, you get complete creative freedom, right? You can do whatever you want. You can make all the changes you want. You have complete control over everything. You get all of the royalties 100% after Amazon. Everybody takes their cut, and you own 100% of your intellectual property, which is so, so, so important. Now, the cons of that is you have the sole responsibility of doing all this yourself. And, it just takes a lot of time. So you have to decide, do I have the time to learn a new skill? And do I want to learn the new skill? Or would I rather pay somebody else to do it that knows what they're doing and are experts at what they're doing, and I can go on to doing something else? So I'm going to give you the example of when my boys were a little bit younger. My house was the house that had all the kids at it all the time. So you can imagine it was kind of like an explosion zone all the time. And the time it would have taken me to clean my house all the time was crazy. So I hired a housekeeper for 3 days a week, because there was literally 10 to 15 boys at my house almost every day. And boys are a little messier than girls, I just want to say. But I decided I would rather spend my time doing what I love doing, which was publishing authors' books, and put it in investing in getting more clients and changing the world with their content, than cleaning my toilets and mopping my floors. So you just have to decide, do you have the money that you can spend to invest into someone to do it for you? Or if you do have the time, great, and you want to learn these new skills, then go ahead and do that. So you do have to spend hours. We spend probably, I don't know, between our whole team, probably 10 to 20 hours a week learning about the publishing industry and what's going on, and keeping up on the new technology and new skills and what changes with Amazon. So just keep that in mind. And the other downside is a lot of people who do it themselves, they end up having costly mistakes and they get frustrated. And more often than not, they don't hit #1 bestseller. So let's go over what we do and what independent publishing houses do. So an independent publishing house like us at Elite Online Publishing, what we do is we do all the self-publishing for you. So if you took self-publishing and merged it into independent publishing, then it's like the best of both worlds, right? You get to keep all of your royalties. you get #1 bestseller guaranteed, you get professional support, you get creative control, you get concierge level service. That was like when when my roof just got finished. Thank goodness they finished before this masterclass today. Literally the last 2 days I had a roof on there. And I'm thinking to myself, it was just so nice. He gave me samples of what I wanted my roof to look like, told me a couple other things of what he was going to do, and explained everything to me. So I just had to make the choices. Basically, I got creative control over my roof of what I wanted and what I wanted to look like. I needed new air vents, attic vents. I got to pick those out. So I just got to do the fun stuff. And that's kind of like what you do with us, that you work with us. We have our graphic designers to create a book cover for you. We take your vision of your book cover and bring it to life. And then you have our expertise of what is best going to serve you. Like, we want to make sure it's the same brand colors as your company if it's a nonfiction book. Global distribution, we make sure it's on Ingram as well as Amazon. So if you're doing it yourself, make sure you do Ingram as well. The other thing that we've gained in this marketplace is we have industry credibility. So I was just sharing, if you missed it, that we just got a client from Cape Town, South Africa that found us because of our reputation. So isn't that cool? We've had authors from all over the world. We're always surprised when someone from Australia reaches out to us because of what we've done in the industry. We've published over 3,000 books for authors and for ourselves. So, and all of our authors have hit bestseller on those lists. And what we offer also is book awards. Not every publishing company offers for you to have book award submissions. So we submit to 3 book awards with 6 categories altogether. And the other thing is, like I said, we spend a lot of time on current technology and, what's going on in social media and marketing. So that's probably all the pros for us. Now, the cons is, yep, we cost a lot of money up front, but we do offer payment plans, so you can do that, and spreading those out over a course of time. And we have a whole variety of different packages that range. And I'll just tell you, our packages range anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000. And then we also have packages for people who are just thinking about writing their book and they can't decide what to write on. We offer a VIP book creation day as well, where we take the mystery out of that and get your book kickstarted with sometimes up to a third of your book even written on that day. So I would say, if you're trying to decide, like, which way should I go? If you're still like, I still don't know, Melanie, I'm still confused. You gave me a lot of information, but I'm still confused. So I would say traditional publishing is for you if you have at least a $500,000 fan base and you have the time frame of 2 years to get your book published, right? And physical bookstores are important to you, and you don't mind if you have a little lack of control of your IP, then traditional publishing is probably for you. I would say self-publishing is for you if you have the time to invest, and you're going to still have to invest money, right? Because you've got to educate yourself, and some of the education cost money to invest in courses and things like that to do it. You will get more royalties and you'll have complete control of your book. So if you have the time and energy to invest in self-publishing, then you should go for that. Hybrid publishing, if you're willing to share your royalties and have less upfront cost and a little bit limited control of your book and your IP, then that might be for you. If you want to have the best of both worlds and have everything, if you did it yourself, but you don't have to do it, and you have a budget to be able to spend on publishing, then I would say our company, Elite Online Publishing, is for you, or other independent publishers that work the same way that we do. So you want to make sure you get a guaranteed of a #1 bestseller, complete control of your book, and 100% of your royalties. So I would say that those are some of the most important things. So a lot of times your concerns are the cost. I don't think I have enough money to go with hybrid or with you, Melanie, or with an independent publisher. So look for payment plans of things that you can do. You can get sponsors that sponsor your book. We've had authors that have put people in their book as sponsors. They've offered them putting their name on their all of their different things, putting it on their big banners, on their business cards. They've even done it where they've told people, hey, for a certain amount, I'll put you in my book and you can do the foreword or the introduction to my book. So there's a variety of ways to raise money and leverage your book, because your book's going to have a lot of exposure, to raise money for that. And you can get payment plans. We offer that. Sometimes we offer up to a 6 payment plan. So marketing and distribution, you're like, well, I don't even know how to market my book. So if you need marketing, look for a company like ours that gives you marketing and distribution. The other thing that people are worried about, even with our company, is quality. So David Addix, he's a famous artist here in Houston, and I think worldwide as well. He wanted to make sure, what is the quality of the book? So I sent over a variety of our books to show them the quality, and they're like, this is like every other book that you see at the bookstore. This looks great. So you want to make sure you have a great quality of the book. So sometimes that's a concern. And then the royalty rate. So make sure you really look into the royalty rates and the fine print of your contracts as well. And then make sure you have a reputable publisher. So you want to make sure you get referrals and look at their website. One person showed me this website. I'm like, there's no person behind this. Who owns this company? Who are the people behind this? This looks like someone just threw up a website. So make sure that you do that as well. So I want to let you know, we're not just in the publishing business, we're in the business of building authors' careers. That's what we want to build. We want to build a career and a business for you around your book. And we're creating authors' platforms so you can thrive and not just survive and sell just a few books. You know, we want you to sell a lot of books, but we want you to be able to use your book to build your brand. So if you're looking for the go-to authority in publishing, you've come to the right place. Let's see if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have and make any clarity on some of the things I talked about.
Melanie, there was one question. I answered it, but maybe you can also add to it. The question is, with your bestseller campaign, how long is the book guaranteed to remain a bestseller? I know that some people have a book literally a bestseller for a day or two, and then they promote for years that their book is a bestseller. So if I answer it, but you can go ahead and expand further, please.
Yeah, that's really a great question. Yeah, a lot of times it does just hit for a moment and it's up there. The key is, we always say, we want, football season's coming up. I'm getting excited. So it's like scoring a touchdown on the very first play, but then you want to keep your book at that 20-yard line so you still can keep getting a touchdown again and again. So we're working with an author right now. We're saying, okay, what other events, programs, and things do you have coming up after your book launch? And the strategy is, when you have complete control of your book, you can change the price. You can offer specials. You can offer bulk discounts. So you can keep using that formula that we give you over and over and over again to keep launching your book to bestseller multiple times. Right? And you want to tie it into special business promotions or things that you're doing, because that's how you're leveraging your book as a continuing marketing tool. Does that make sense?
Okay. Next question from Kevin. He says, bold question. You guarantee a bestseller badge. Does it also mean you earn your investment back almost guaranteed? That investment is $30,000. Am I correct?
Yeah, one of our packages, that's our gold package, is $30,000. And again, I want to tell people, you're not going to get your investment back in a week. Like, a book is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And just recently had this conversation with one of our authors that, keep in mind, royalties are wonderful. They're a small amount of what you get, but it's the doors that open for you. Right? This author got a door open to the Greater Leadership Conference that's coming up. Actually, it's coming up this weekend. Right? So that door opened because she had a book that she's launching. We're actually launching her bestseller campaign at this event, and the opportunities that she's going to have. Shawnee, who I talked about earlier, we wrapped her book launch into an event that they were having. And within the first 24 hours, she got 2,000 more names added to her list. So you have to say, what is the value of 2,000 more names added to your list that you can retarget, market to, and sell your services to? So the bigger picture is, how many more clients can you get because of your book, right? Another client of ours, Clark East, he went to prison for a white collar crime. And he doesn't mind me telling you that because that's what his book is about. It's what happened on that journey. It was during 2008 and 9 when the crash came, and he made a mistake and misappropriated funds. And so he uses that book he's in real estate development where they find land. And then, so he uses his book and he gives it to them as his opening, like, hey, I met with you. I want you to have my book so you understand my journey. I don't want to hide anything. He now has 5 Starbucks that he has done the land deals for. And they were all because he gave his book first. So what is the value of that, right? Think about and how much revenue he's generating from those Starbucks for his lifetime.
Okay, next question. Do you publish poetry books?
Yes, we have done poetry books in the past. Jen could probably think of one that we've done. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but we've done children's books, we've done fiction books, and we've done poetry books. And we try with no matter what type of book that you have is to come up with that back end for you for your book. That so you have options of not just a regular book. And I want to give a shout out to Paulette here because she does an incredible thing. Let me get a drink real quick. Where she turns your book into 52 tips. And those tips can be used one a week that you send out on social media. You can create a separate book for that. So it's a great accompaniment with the book. So look at that. You're taking a book that you've worked on and turn it into a whole nother product that you can use and sell. So I think that's what we do really well is because my background, as I told you, is in TV, advertising, and marketing. And Jen, who's there, wave, Jen. So she's my partner. Jen's background is she's in website development. She had 40 kiosk retail stores and she did all the marketing and did all the websites. And then she went on to do websites and digital marketing for other companies. So I always say we're like marketers who are also publishers. We're really a marketing minded publishing company. So I say we're marketers that really happen to be publishers.
Also, shout out to Jen. She is a prolific children's book author.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I think our expertise really comes in entrepreneurship too, because we understand and can dive into what you're trying to get done and come up with a really good marketing plan for your book, right? And really a book is its own separate business if you really think of it that way.
Yeah, I think that's where authors make a mistake. They're like, okay, writing the book is monumental. But then that's when it just starts that then you have this business and your book is a business that you'll have forever. So always promoting it, you'll always be an author. And I tell people, if you're going to go to so much trouble to write this book and publish it, why not make it a bestseller? Why not give it the most credibility you can? Why not become an award-winning author that gives you the street cred to go with it? Because then every time someone introduces you, you're an award-winning, best-selling author. That stays with you for the rest of your life. I mean, I think your book deserves that if you're going to put that much energy and effort into it. It deserves to give it the best chance. So many authors come to me and say, you know, I did my book and it's just not going anywhere. I think I got 10 sales and they're so disappointed. So we don't want that to happen. We want you to have some kind of a game plan to use your book for the long term.
Yeah, I have a comment to add about that. So one of our authors we're doing marketing for, she said to me, well, you know, I just want to promote my newest book because my old book is like 2 years old and it's just like dead, right? And I'm like, what do you mean dead? It's still your story. It's still everything that, you know, is in the book. It's still exactly everything that she wrote about. It's not dead. It's just, you have to keep marketing it, right? So you have to keep promoting it. And you could have a book signing a year. You could have a book signing 4 times a year if you wanted. I know an author here that wrote a book about quilting. Now, quilting, that sounds really boring. Well, she goes around to the different quilt shops and she does book signings and she'll do like 5 or 6 a year. And because even though the book, she just keeps selling the book over and over again, but there's always like new people, right, who are interested in that. So she's always getting new people to talk to and new people to sell to because there's always new people who are interested in her subject. You might think, well, that sounds weird. Like, why wouldn't you just have one when the book comes out? No, you should have multiple, right? Because the book's still relevant.
I think another thing that we offer our authors is we offer content marketing. So you're like, well, what's content marketing? I'm kind of veering off on a whole nother tangent here, but content marketing is having blogs, right? Having infographics, having articles, creating videos. So think about how many blogs you could create out of your book, how many quotes you can pull out of your book. And then there's just so many different ways to use the content on a regular basis over and over and over again. Any other questions?
I do want to address the question that was about hitting bestseller for a day. So that's one thing about our companies, and some companies are like this and some aren't, but we like to be authentic and real and really explain to you, how it's going to work, right? So on Amazon, depending on the category is how many books you have to sell. So we're going to figure out what those numbers are and talk to you about that. We're going to be authentic and real with you, right? So you have to have a certain amount of number to hit bestseller depending on your category. So like Shawnee, she was actually competing with Whoopi Goldberg. So guess what? She probably had to sell a lot more books than someone who isn't competing against Whoopi Goldberg, right? And so we look at those and we know how to understand the numbers to help you to know what your goal is that you have to reach to hit that bestseller number, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we also like to be authentic and real with you to show you how to keep that bestseller or to hit it again. So like even today, I was at a presentation and he talked about his book at the end and said you could get a signed copy or an ebook. One thing that was all really good, and I'm glad he did that because he wrote his book like 4 years ago. But one thing he didn't do that he could have done is he could have had a QR code and said, if you want, I've reduced the price on the ebook for 99 cents on Amazon if you want to go get it today. And he would have boosted back up on the charts and hit #1 again if he had the categories properly, if he had the right categories. So like there's so many opportunities for you to stay bestseller. It's just you have to know how to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about trying to decide or next steps with us, Karen, if you want to put in the chat, maybe your calendar that they can sign up and talk to Karen and she can get you more information and our publishing packages and things like that. If you're ready to go or if you're undecided. So I hope this helped. Put a thumbs up if this was helpful in the chat. I would love to see if it helped you all out today to make sure that you got some clarity and understand your different options.
And there was one other question in the chat. They were just asking how long it takes. You mentioned 1 to 5 years for traditional publishers. If they work with us, how long does it usually take?
So it depends on where you are in the publishing process. So if you already have your manuscript done and finished and uploaded, I would say, within 4 months or so, we can get that done. And I always say 4 to 6 months only because sometimes life gets in the way or the proof doesn't come back, but usually within 4 months, we can get that happening. Now, if you're starting from scratch with just an idea and do our VIP day, I would say that's 9 months to 8 months or 9 to 10 months. Usually we can have the book finished, written, and done. But again, we've had authors in this process, their family member sadly died and different things happened. And so that might stretch out to over a year. But usually from our end, that's not what happens. I would say within 9 months from start to finish is a good time to get it done. And the other thing I want to make a comment is, once you're done with us, you're not done with us. We're constantly promoting your book. If you look at our social media, we have books that we promote out there that have been published years ago with us. So we're always pushing you out on social media and promoting you. We have you on our podcast when you publish with us. And that's the other people don't realize, when you're on our podcast, we give you, it's a video podcast. It's everywhere podcasts are done audio, but it's on YouTube. You get a transcript of it and you get a blog post as well. So it's a really great asset to have. And then you can say you were a guest there.
I'd like to say something, and I appreciated the shout out. This will not be a commercial, I promise. What I would like to add to all of the great stuff, Jen, that you and Melanie have both been contributing to this session today, that I think you guys think that it's obvious to everybody else. The big element when you're making a decision, especially in publishing, is how can some facility, some resource help you differentiate your business from all the zillions of books that are being printed every year? And that is probably one of the biggest elements for you to consider when you're considering who you want to work with, whether they're doing it for you, whether they're doing it with you. And I know that I'm not going to pull the curtain too far back, I promise. So Melanie, don't get nervous here. We've been in conversation in the past couple of months about some additional things that this publishing company is considering offering to you that will definitely hold you as a differentiator in your field, no matter how much you think that that field is already saturated. I'll leave it at that. Little mystery.
Thanks, Paulette. I appreciate it. And she does make a good point. I think one thing I forgot to mention is the other thing, you have to decide who you want to work with, right? Personality wise, because, I had, again, different fence people here, and one guy just didn't get a good vibe from. The other person I had a really good vibe from. I felt like, yeah, I want to work with him. He seems like a really nice person, and I connected with him. So I think that's the other link, that you have to make sure that you like the people you're working with, because it's a very intimate process. And you're going to talk to these people once a week, once every other week. I mean, you want someone that you have fun with and enjoy their personalities. All right. You guys are awesome. So I look forward to talking to any of you, or with Karen. We'll talk with you and sign up for a meeting with us, and we'll walk you through the process if you're interested. Or you can email us if you have more questions about you're trying to decide, who you should go with. Or even, I have checked out other publishing companies for people. If you have a company that you're considering, send us that and I'll give you my 2 cents about them. Have a great week, everyone. And I hope this was really helpful. Thanks for coming.
Bye, everyone.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.